Hey y'all, welcome to episode 1 from Gems to Jewels. I'm so excited. We finally made it here. Really happy that I'm finally starting this and trusting myself and really committing to doing something I've always wanted to do. So welcome to episode 1. It is called My Testimony slash GPS. So let's just jump right into the episode. You ever notice how no matter where you're headed, the journey always starts the same way? Whether I'm catching the train, waiting for the bus, or being a foot soldier in Gotham City, or calling an Uber, it always begins with dropping the pin. And here's the thing, when you drop the pin, you have to be honest about where you are. Not where you think you are, not where you wish you were, but the exact spot where you're standing. And that's transparency. The same transparency I've had to embrace my own life before I could ever step into my purpose. To be real with y'all, putting my voice out there, sharing my truth is really what delayed me in launching this podcast. Because before I could give gems, I had to check in with myself first. And the scary part of looking about where you are is also looking about where you are not. For so long, I focused on what I hadn't achieved and what I thought I should have been by now. Instead of giving myself the grace for how far I'd come, I judged myself harshly, picking myself apart under a magnifying glass. And a lot of that came up from my upbringing from South Florida. Let me be very clear. Being from the South is one thing, but being from Miami, that is a whole entity within itself. I joke that I'm from Miami and not from Florida, but because those two things are not the same. Now, add being Haitian and Bahamian to that mix, and let me tell you, the influence and harsh critiques and verbal whippings, they did their number on me, okay? As a dark-skinned plus-size girl, I was constantly picked apart by my family, by society, even by myself. And for a long time, that made me shrink. It made me hide parts of myself. But here's the thing. Gems don't get to shine without pressure. And over time, I started doing the work to polish what was already inside of me. So here we are, the carrot, the weight of my story. Carat measures the weight of a jewel, and for me, the weight started in childhood. I carried small but heavy hurts. Things I never spoke about, even to myself. I buried my pain and convinced that if I ignored it long enough, it would disappear. So one day, when I was 20, like just about 20, I was working at Forever 21 in Sawgrass Mills Mall. And a coworker changed everything for me. We were standing at the register, chatting like always about celebrity gossip, the latest tweets, regular retail talk. And then out of nowhere, she casually mentioned how she felt after speaking her truth. She shared that she was a survivor of molestation. In the middle of our shift, in front of customers with no shame, I was shook. Not because of her bravery, but because I had never heard anyone say This is tough, speaking about this, but I'm going to commit to it. I had never heard anyone say something so raw, so open, without fear. That moment was a catalyst for me. It made me realize that I too was still captive to parts of my own story that I had never confronted. It took years to get there, but it started with dropping the pin, being honest with myself first. The weight of my story became heaviest during the pandemic. Like everyone, I had more time to sit with myself, to really see myself in a way that I never had before. And what I saw was conviction, to finally be honest. For the first time, I admitted out loud I was uncomfortable with my own existence as a plus-size dark-skinned woman. For years, I carried the weight of other people's opinions about my body, how I should look, how I should shrink myself, how I should fix things that were never broken. I grew up knowing what the standard of beauty was, not because I chose to, but because it was always made painfully clear to me. Oh, my Caribbean aunties. Some of these women were like random strangers that I would meet in the salon when I would go to get my relaxer and wash and set. These women would be casually offering me bleaching creams to use like they were passing around peppermints. My weight was never just mine. It was a family discussion, a joke at gatherings, a question that never seemed to end. Like, girl, why are you so big? What's going on? You should be working out. Do you take PE? Questions like that would just fill me with fury and anger and hurt. And through it all, I had to come with the terms with something even heavier. The things that I was bullied for, the things I was made to feel ashamed of, were never actually wrong. But as a child, I had no protection from that and no one to tell me that I was just fine as I was. I feel like having Caribbean parents was difficult for me. The emotional distance, the lack of open communication, it made my childhood feel like survival. The only safety I had was really spent under my grandmother. She was my shield. But the truth is, y'all, I was always afraid. Afraid of men, afraid of being looked at the wrong way, afraid of the memories I tried to bury because I was touched as a child. And for 20 years, I carried that trauma alone. I played out every scenario in my head, just like Doctor Strange in Avengers, running through every possible outcome, trying to figure out how my story would end if I ever spoke up. Would I be believed? Would I be blamed? Would I ruin everything? And then in 2020, I finally did it. I told both of my parents through text. All right. It was very millennial of me. Yeah, I know. It didn't matter how I told them. What mattered was that I wasn't holding it in anymore. I had spent 2 decades worrying about speaking my truth and how it would change. But at that moment, I realized the only thing that mattered was freeing myself. I wasn't captive to the pain anymore. I wasn't waiting for permission to heal. The protection and safety I lacked as a child, I decided to give it to myself as a woman. The cut, shaping my life choices. The cut determines the shape of a jewel, and just like our choices shape our lives. I realized early on that vulnerability moves you forward faster. From watching movies, reading books, seeing reality show stars hold on to secrets just to wait to reveal them at the reunion, it taught me that the truth could have saved the time and pain if it was spoken sooner. But I wasn't used to that. I was a vault. I took deposits from people, emotions, expectation, traumas, but I never made withdrawals. I never let anything out. Opening the vault took strength, and it started with admitting the worst feelings I had about myself to me, to my loved ones, even to God. I think admitting it to God was probably the hardest part. Learning that I could show my humanity to God and tell him how mad I was, how furious I was, how hurt I was by something I thought he could protect me from. I had become a patchwork of what my parents passed down, mixed with generational baggage they never unpacked. The gem I was in the beginning was buried, bruised, and scratched up. But with the help of sisterhood, therapy, and faith, I started realizing that some of the things weighing me down, they weren't mine to carry anymore. And that's when the clarity came. The wisdom was gained. Clarity is what makes a jewel sparkle. It's the wisdom that comes from the journey. What I've learned is that healing isn't a one-time thing. It is a constant practice. Life will always throw pop quizzes at me, testing me to see what I've learned, making sure I apply it. And as frustrating as those tests are, I've committed to showing up for them. Even when I don't know the answers, okay? Even when I don't even feel ready. Even when I want to run. Because I know that every test is an opportunity to grow, I don't have to do it alone. For so long, I acted like I was the only one on this journey by myself. But I'm not. I have God. I have therapy. I have community of friends who lift me up on my darkest days. And I need to give a shout out to all my friends and my family who've done so much for me and lifted me up on my darkest days, giving me kind words, showing support, praying for me, even when I would isolate and disappear. And when I would forget, when the waves of, my seasonal depression would start creeping in, as they do, it likes to knock on my window and just breeze on through. On most days now, like it is winter, I repeat the psalm, in the dark, do not forget what he has done for you in the light. Because the gem is my story, and the jewel, that's what I've become. And here's a jewel I'm sharing with you. The jewel is the GPS that I've learned to create for myself. Let's talk about GPS. Because every jewel has a process, a refinement, a direction. And for me, that GPS has been grace, purpose, and surrender. Grace was learning to forgive myself, to accept that growth is messy, all caps, messy, and to trust that even in my detours, they're a part of the plan. Purpose, understanding that my experiences weren't just for me. The pain, the setbacks, the lessons, they were shaping me into someone who could turn around and help the next woman on her journey. Surrender. Surrender, I gotta say in all caps and space. This one is a tough one. But when I stop forcing things and stop trying to control everything and actually surrendered to God, to the process, to the belief that I was being led somewhere greater, that's when things started shifting. This podcast, this is my way of walking in that purpose. I'm here to share the gems I've collected and how I've shaped them into jewels. So that maybe, just maybe, it helps you shape yours too. What to expect from gems to jewels? This is a space for real talk, as you've heard so far. We're going to get into it. Work, love, healing, boundaries, purpose, faith, all of it. Todo, okay? I want this to feel like you're sitting on the couch with your homegirl, talking about life, laughing, or maybe crying as I am now, but it's okay. But always leaving with something valuable. Because every gem deserves to be polished, refined, and shining. Join me on this journey. If you're rocking with me already, go ahead and subscribe because trust me, we have so much to talk about. Follow me on Instagram at Gems to Jewels Pod so we can keep the conversation going. And if today's episode spoke to you, share it with a friend who needs some gems in her life. You can stream my show on Apple, Spotify, Google Play, and YouTube. All right, remember, every gem has the potential to become a jewel. Just keep growing and glowing and keep trusting yourself and keep trusting your GPS. Peace.